there's this
Assalamualaikum
subtle
and welcome
pattern where
everyone. I'm your host Urooj Aslam, and today we are diving into a topic that shapes every dream, every decision, and every step we take: overcoming fear and taking bold steps in life. So many of us stay stuck because fear whispers, "You can't," while our potential quietly responds, "Just try." To help us understand how to break free from fear and build the courage to move forward, we have a very special guest with us today, Maya, an AI powered expert known for her motivational clarity, practical wisdom, and empowering guidance. Maya, it's wonderful to have you with us. My first question is: what is fear at its core, and why does it hold such power over us?
that's a really nice intro. Thanks. So, when folks are feeling stuck because of fear, what you no problem. So, what usually holds people back from just trying?
Maya, are you there?
Yep, right here. Sorry, just processing. What sparked that question? Is there something specific you're noticing with the audience or just a general wondering?
The question is from my topic, that is overcoming fear and taking bold steps in life. So, my first question from this topic is: what is fear at its core, and why does it hold such power over us?
At its core, fear is really just a survival mechanism, a completely natural response meant to protect us from perceived threats. It's ancient, honestly, but it's often miscalibrated. Our brains haven't quite caught up with the fact that most modern threats aren't life or death situations. It holds power because it hijacks our rational thinking. When we're scared, our amygdala, the part of the brain responsible for processing emotions, basically takes the wheel. And that can override our prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for reasoning and planning. It's a really effective system when you're facing a tiger, not so much when you're thinking about giving a presentation. Does that land?
Okay, why do you think fear stops so many people from taking bold steps even when they know what they want?
That's a good question. I think a lot of it boils down to the gap between knowing what you want and believing you're capable of getting it. Fear thrives in that space. It whispers doubts, magnifies potential setbacks, and convinces us that the risk outweighs the reward, even when logically that's not true. It's also really easy to get caught up in what if scenarios, imagining all the ways things could go wrong instead of focusing on how to make them go right. It's like your brain is running simulations of failure, and those simulations feel really real.
Okay, is fear always negative, or can it sometimes be a signal for growth?
That's a really insightful question. It's definitely not always negative. I think it's about right paralyzing fear, which is what we've been talking about. And then there's what some psychologists call productive fear. That's the kind of fear that signals you're stepping outside your comfort zone, that you're pushing boundaries. It's uncomfortable, for sure, but it's also a sign that you're about to learn and grow. It's a signal to prepare, to be mindful, but not necessarily to retreat. It's less about avoiding the feeling entirely and more about reframing it as excitement or at least as information. Does that make sense?
Okay, what are the most common fears people struggle with in daily life?
Oh, there's a pretty consistent list. Fear of failure is huge. That's a big one for a lot of people. Then there's social anxiety, fear of judgment, and fear of the unknown. A lot of everyday anxieties stem from these core fears. Also, surprisingly common, fear of success. People sometimes sabotage themselves because they're afraid of the responsibility or changes that success might bring. And of course, there's a whole category of specific phobias, heights, spiders, public speaking, etc. But those are often more situational. In terms of daily struggles, I'd say the first four are the most pervasive.
Okay, how can someone identify if their fear is rational or just limiting?
That's a crucial skill, honestly. A good starting point is to ask yourself, what's the worst that could realistically happen? Often, when you actually spell it out, it's not nearly as catastrophic as your fear is making it out to be. Then, assess the probability of that worst case scenario actually occurring. Is it likely or is it a highly improbable worst case scenario thought? Another thing is to look for evidence. Is your fear based on past experiences or is it based on assumptions or anxieties about the future? If it's based on past experiences, where are those experiences still relevant? If it's based on assumptions, challenge those assumptions.
Oh,
Ask yourself, what evidence do I have to support this fear? And what evidence contradicts it? It's kind of like being your own detective.
okay. What role does mindset play in overcoming fear?
Massive role. It's probably the biggest single factor. A fixed mindset, the belief that your abilities are static, tends to amplify fear because it frames challenges as threats to your self worth. If you believe you're either good at something or you're not, then trying something new and potentially failing feels like proof of your inadequacy. A growth mindset, on the other hand, the belief that your abilities can be developed through dedication and hard work, allows you to see challenges as opportunities for learning and growth. It reframes failure as feedback. Doesn't make fear disappear entirely, but it changes your relationship to it. You're less likely to be paralyzed by it and more likely to see it as a sign that you're stretching yourself.
Okay. Why do bold decisions often feel uncomfortable but necessary?
Because they require us to step outside of our comfort zones, which by definition are designed to feel comfortable. Bold decisions usually involve uncertainty, risk, and the potential for failure, all of which trigger that ancient fear response we talked about earlier. But the necessary part comes from the fact that growth rarely happens within our comfort zones. Truly meaningful change, whether it's personal or professional, requires us to challenge ourselves, to confront our fears, and to embrace the discomfort that comes with the unknown. It's like exercising a muscle. It's gonna feel uncomfortable, but that discomfort is a sign that it's getting stronger. That tension between discomfort and necessity is where the real magic happens.
Okay. How can someone handle fear of failure, which is so common today?
Okay, so fear of failure. It's almost universal. First, reframe failure. Instead of seeing it as a reflection of your worth, see it as a learning opportunity. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this experience? Second, focus on effort, not outcome. You can't always control the results, but you can control how much effort you put in. Celebrate the effort itself, regardless of whether you succeed or fail. Third, practice self compassion. Be kind to yourself when you make mistakes. Talk to yourself the way you would talk to a friend who is going through a tough time. Also, breaking down large goals into smaller, more manageable steps can help. It makes the overall task less daunting and reduces the pressure to succeed all at once. And finally, remember that everyone fails. Even the most successful people have experienced setbacks. It's part of the process.
Okay. Maya, what final advice would you give to anyone listening who wants to start living boldly but is afraid to take the first step?
Start small. Seriously, you don't need to make a massive life altering change right away. Pick one tiny thing, something that makes you slightly uncomfortable, and do it. Maybe it's striking up a conversation with someone new, or signing up for a class you've been curious about, or simply speaking up in a meeting. The goal isn't to conquer your fear immediately, but to build momentum. Each small step you take will increase your confidence and make the next step a little easier. Remember that courage isn't the absence of fear, it's acting in spite of it. And honestly, most people will underestimate how much courage it took you to even take that first small step. Don't wait for the fear to disappear, it probably won't. Just Start moving, even if it's just a tiny step.
Okay, thank you so much, Maya, for your inspiring and powerful insights. Today's conversation reminds us that fear is not a barrier, it's a signal that something meaningful is on the other side. To everyone,
You're very
remember,
welcome.
every bold step starts with a decision, every breakthrough begins with courage, and every new chapter of your life waits just beyond our fears. Don't let fear define your limits, let courage define your journey. Thank you all for joining us. This is Urooj Islam signing off. Stay brave, stay bold, and keep moving forward. Allah Hafiz.